Titans up, Bucs down. Slop City, slop city, slop city, slop city, slop city. Ahoy, tough Bucs! It's your rude boy, Juan Swagadello, and thanks for tuning in to our Week 9 episode. Today we'll be talking about the Bucs' sloppy Week 8 loss to the Tennessee Titans, and we'll then preview their Week 9 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. But before we start, I want to give a big shout out to my main man, King Buccaneers, aka Stank Bastard, aka my favorite Twitter handle, and check out his Buccaneers podcast. It's some really good Buccaneers content. Alright, so with that, let's giddy up, folks. The Buccaneers came out of their Week 7 bye looking for a win against the Titans. Some would say that this was a must-win game, but blown opportunities, inconsistent play, and poor play calling continues to plague this team, resulting into another heartbreaking loss for the Buccos. So let's start with the good. I guess all things considered, the Bucs defense played a decent game. They held Ryan Tannehill to only 193 passing yards and also held dynamic running back Derrick Henry to just 75 yards rushing. The edge rushers were able to put pressure on Tannehill, sacking him 3 times with 2 notable sacks. One coming from Jason Pierre-Paul, who was able to get to Tannehill on his very first play since returning from an off-season neck injury. And the second coming from Shaq Barrett, who now has 10 sacks on the season and is tied for first in that category with Myles Garrett from Cleveland. The addition of JPP is going to go a long way for this Buccaneers defense and will help an often struggling secondary. This defense will need to improve in the red zone, as opposing teams are having more success than not scoring once they're within the Bucs' 20-yard line. Moving on to the bad. The Bucs have a real issue turning the ball over. For the second straight game, Winston's fumbled and has been intercepted multiple times. Bucco Bruce was adamant in his post-game interview that the interceptions were not Winston's fault and were more a result of poor play by the receivers. I don't know, and I don't care. But what I do know is that the Bucs will continue to lose if they continue to be careless with the football. Those turnovers are turning into points, and the Titans were able to take the short field position given and cash those turnovers into 14 points. To put it frankly, the Bucs just don't know how to win games, but they sure do know how to lose games. Now let's talk about the downright ugly, and normally I would reserve this to talk about the Bucs, but not today. F you refs. My gosh, the NFL is ruining this game for everyone by using these Bush League referees. There were several questionable calls throughout this game that went against the Bucs, but none bigger than an early whistle on a fake field goal in the fourth quarter, where Bucs linebacker Devin White destroyed Titans punter Brett Kern, knocking the ball out. Bucs safety Andrew Adams recovered it and ran it in for what would have been the go-ahead touchdown. The officials claimed to not have seen the fumble and ruled the play dead. What gives? I thought the NFL said to let plays like this unfold and review it after the fact. The league officials have been wildly inconsistent this season, and it's costing teams games. Remember the Saints against the Rams in Week 2? An early whistle cost Cameron Jordan a defensive touchdown. I get it. We're all human. We make errors, but the NFL has to do a better job holding their employees accountable for poor performances. And honestly, they should at least publicly acknowledge the mistakes these clown asses are making. Regardless, the Bucs found ways to lose this game, so complaining about referees isn't gonna do anything. But forget those zebra scrubs. I'm all worked up now. Yeesh. Let's move on to our weekly awards. This week, the Tough Buck Award goes to Mike Evans, who had yet another career game. My man went off against the Titans and looked unstoppable. He set a franchise record for most receptions and has now cemented himself as the best offensive player ever for the Buccaneers. However, my man wasn't targeted once in the fourth quarter. Winston, what the heck? When Evans is hot, you gotta feed him the rock and not Perryman. I feel so bad for Evans. You can tell that his patience is wearing thin with this team. And as he said in his post-game interview, he's f***ing tired of losing. And quite frankly, I'm with you, Evans. So are we. Moving on to the player that has to walk the plank, and this week, it's Perryman. I was excited to see the speedster back in the lineup and see what he can do, but My gosh, what an awful performance. Not only could he not keep his feet in bounds to convert a beautifully thrown pass for a 2-point conversion, but he also ran the wrong route, resulting into Winston's second interception. And he also ran into his own freaking teammate, tackling him for a loss at the goal line that would result into just 3 points as opposed to 7. Bro, what are you doing? With this loss, the Bucs are now on a 3-game losing streak, and I'm gonna say it because the Bucs coaching staff won't. Buck Nation, and now is the time to start hitting that panic button, because at 2-5, it's hard to believe this team can make any sort of comeback and make the playoffs. I will say, I was impressed with how pissed off everyone was after the game. Hopefully, this will light a fire under their asses and get it together, but we all need to prepare for the worst because it's looking like another washed up season. The Bucs will finish their last leg of this grueling stretch of road games by traveling across the coast to face a very good Seattle Seahawks team. Let's talk about the Seahawks offense. This is a run-first offense and they'll be going up against the league's best rushing defense in the Buccaneers. Will they change up their game plan and attack this struggling secondary, or do they want to stick with their bread and butter and run it up the middle against Vea and Sue? One thing's for sure, the Seahawks have a consistent quarterback that can move the ball around and score points when necessary. Most importantly, Wilson knows how to protect the football as he's only thrown 1 interception this year. If the Seahawks aren't able to run the ball, then they'll test this young secondary with the likes of Tyler Lockett and rookie DJ Metcalf. The secondary played a lot better last week than they have in a while, and that was because the pressure the front lines were able to create. If the D-line can get to Wilson, then I like the secondary's chances. On the defensive side of the ball, the Legion of Boom is no more. They've given up the 3rd most passing yards in the league and average 273 passing yards per game. They're slightly better against the run, but it's nothing to brag about. However, they do know how to create turnovers as they're tied for 4th in interceptions and have the 2nd most fumble recoveries. It's imperative that the Bucs clean up their play and protect the ball because this defense is very opportunistic and will take advantage of mistakes. I'm sure the Seahawks are salivating at this matchup. Wait, do Hawks salivate? Now that we're all caught up with the Seahawks, let's take a look at a key matchup in this game. The offensive line of the Seahawks have their work cut out for them. With the return of JPP, the Bucs will now have a good amount of pressure coming off the edge. Vea has been solid even when double teamed, but I'll need to see a little bit more from Ndamukong Suh, who hasn't scratched the surface with the Bucs. Sue, can you give your boy a sack, please? Needless to say, the D-line needs to get to Wilson and more importantly, bring him to the ground. Wilson is a shifty quarterback who can extend plays with his feet and make something out of nothing. DeMar Dotson, Jack Keachie, and both tight ends OJ Howard and Cameron Brate haven't practiced and don't look like they'll play this week, but that surely could change in the next couple of days. I think Cameron Brate and DeMar Dotson will play though. It's official. I am awful at gambling. Last week I came out with a dud going 0-2 on my picks, and it's a good thing I don't gamble for real because, yeah, the missus would be upset with me. However, I do like this segment, so I'm gonna keep it going and see how I end the year. Who knows, maybe I might turn it around. The Bucs are 6-point underdogs in this one. Every time I say the Bucs are gonna win, they end up losing, so I'm gonna do the opposite in hopes that I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Tampa will find a way not to win this game and will lose because of some careless mistake. But they do play well against the Seahawks, and because of that, I think it will be closer than most think. I'll take Tampa to cover the 6 points, but not win. Both teams give up a lot of passing yards and both teams allow a lot of points. If the Seahawks aren't able to run the ball, they'll have to throw it in the air, and against this suspect secondary, that's no bueno. The Bucs, like always, will have to play from behind or get involved in a shootout. This game is gonna go over 52 points. And that's our Week 9 preview of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Seattle Seahawks. What do I know? I'm just some jabroni who watches football from my couch. Let me know who you think will win this game by leaving a comment below. Like and subscribe, and if you're a real tough buck, then click that bell icon so that you get real-time notifications on when new videos drop. So until next time, Buck Nation, you know what to do, and that's keep firing them cannons.